Again with another episode with some big time subjects. Interest rates on mortgages, 10%. You might think that can't be real. 10% interest on mortgages? Well, if things go the way they have been, that's going to be the reality probably within 18 to 24 months. Could be 2025, you will see double digit 10% mortgages. How could that even be true? Well, if you just do the simple math on mortgages, they have to mark up the Federal Reserve discount rate from a certain amount plus their overhead. The discount rate is already been raised up. Now, the Fed says they're going to pause the interest rate increases, which they probably will. The problem is it's not going to change the fact that they're already high and that they have to bump it up again next year because the inflation isn't going down. And because inflation's not going down, they have to raise the rates again. At the same time, mortgage companies are also not making enough money basically to stay in business. So what they have to do is they have to raise up their profit margin to be able to stay in business. How's that going to work out for the people who wanted to refinance? 84% of recent home buyers wanted to refinance. The vast majority bought a home in the past year want to refinance at a lower rate. Look, if you've bought a house with a mortgage payment you can't afford because you thought it was going to be refinanced, you might be in for a big surprise. The Federal Reserve said that the rates probably won't go up again this year, but is going to stay the same level that it's at least, if not bump up again. That's exactly what they said. The Federal Reserve chairman said that they won't bring rates up again this year. This year's only got a few more months. But the natural rate, that's what they called it, of interest rates and Federal Reserve rates is probably about where it is now. They may have to raise it up again if inflation doesn't come down. What do you think the odds are that inflation's going to come down in the next year? What do you think? It's not. Inflation's still going up. So if the inflation rate goes up, they're going to have to bump up interest rates again. And at the same time, even if the Federal Reserve rate stays the same, stays exactly the same, mortgage rates will still go up because the mortgage companies are seeing that they're selling like half to a third of the mortgages they used to. If you have a mortgage company with overhead and employees and rent and electricity, and you sell 1,000 mortgages that pays all those bills, now all of a sudden you only sell 500 mortgages. You have to make more profit per mortgage to keep the lights on. So with the number of homes being sold, with the number of people that are refinancing, they're going to have to raise the rates even more. So expect that. Right now, it's roughly 7.5%. Within a year, it'll be well into the eights, 8.2, 8.3. And if the Federal Reserve bumps it again and the mortgage companies you have to make more profit, easily into the nines, scaring 10. Now, what are we talking about vehicles? You saw something on the title that said vehicles. Well, here's the thing. Older vehicles, and they call it classic cars, are going to be restricted for travel or for use. Now, you might say, well, I see here it says California. You're right, it says California. But think of everything else that started in California. A lot of consumer protection laws, a lot of EPA laws, a lot of other types of regulatory restrictions start in California. What do they mean by this? Well, what they're going to do is they're going to take every vehicle that is 1978 and older, and they're going to say you cannot use this vehicle on an everyday basis. They're already getting information about how many miles are on the odometer. That's what it says right in the article. Once they document how many miles are on your odometer, you might have to even bring it for inspection. They're going to only allow you to use it for a certain number of miles a year for recreational, for classic car shows, maybe parades. And you can't use it in certain places like downtowns and in urban areas. You don't think that can happen? Well, right now, already in London, in the UK, they have plate readers that fine people daily for violations for using vehicles that are not allowed in that area. Full-time banning on older cars will have to pay a daily fee. So expect that to come out more first in California and then roll out into other states. I know you have an opinion about that. Let us know in the comments below. How else do we know that's happening? Well, there used to be a Vermont loophole that allowed you to title and register older cars, more than 15 years old, in Vermont to kind of get around the requirements of your state. Well, Vermont finally canceled that at the pressure from other states. The party's over, according to Haggerty. State of Vermont has closed the too good to be true loophole. It was too good to be true. Allowed you to register a vehicle there without living in the state, even without proof of insurance. The vehicle's 15 years old. So this is something that allowed people to, if you had a state that was a little overbearing, get away with that. What else are they doing? Well, a lot of people are buying these cheap Japanese import mini trucks, mini cars. Well, that party's over too. Georgia is clamping down on that, but many other states are doing the same thing. They're called not safe to be driven on the roads. Owners of imported cars finding themselves in a familiar, unstable ground. Georgia is growing list of states with rules telling officials to stop titling these vehicles. They're legally imported, but they're now pretty paperweights that can not be driven on the roads. And it's not just Georgia. Maine, Rhode Island, New York, Georgia, Virginia, Pennsylvania. Some states like Maine and Rhode Island actually sent out letters revoking registrations of vehicles that already had titles. So think about that. Even if you already had a title, your registration is revoked. That's not the only news in the automotive sector. Boom. Here's Ford, one of the largest car companies, is halting work on an EV battery plant. What's going on here? What's going on here? This battery plant was supposed to build enough batteries for 400,000 EVs per year. That's what it's supposed to do, and hire 2,500 workers. Okay, fair enough. Sounds like a good idea, right? Well, they just canceled it because they're not confident that they can competitively operate the plant. What does that mean? That's a code. That's code words for we don't know if we need 400,000 EV batteries. The sales on EV vehicles, electric vehicles, EVs, that was kind of redundant, wasn't it? EV vehicles. It's tanking. They're backing up on dealers' lots. We talked about this last week. There's 3 times as many electric vehicles sitting on the lots unsold than there are gasoline vehicles. People just don't want them. They're too much money. There's no range. There's a lot of problems with the batteries, and we'll look at an article about that here in a minute. So people don't want these electric vehicles. So Ford is saying, maybe not spend $3.5 billion on a battery plant because we're not confident that we can competitively operate the plant. What else does it say? We have not made any final decision about the planned investment there. What does that mean? That's also a code word. That means we might cancel this whole deal. Saying they haven't made a decision about the planned investment means that they might not make the investment, means that they're not going to build the plant. It's stopped construction. Well, if they stopped construction, that means at one point it was started, which means that they would have had a decision about the investment. They already made a decision. They stopped building and they started building. Now they're stopping. That's kind of a decision right there, isn't it? So this is kind of a lie. Why is that happening? Well, like we said, used electric vehicles are tanking. Average cost of secondhand vehicles are plummeting, phenomenal amounts, sitting for months on end without any buyers. So new and used are being tanked. Research by Auto Trader, used EVs have dropped 21.4% just this month. That's in 1 month. There will be fewer new EVs registered and fewer used cars coming to market. So they're already saying fewer new EVs are going to be registered. There will be sections of the public who will want to wait. They're skeptical. People are taking longer to switch. A lot of things are up in the air. Well, Ford sees that handwriting on the wall. They're canceling their factory. Things are up in the air. right? So this is a canary in the coal mine. Used Teslas are on sale for a massive discount. Why could this be happening? Well, people are finding out EV batteries are degrading faster in hot weather. How hot are they talking about? Well, not real hot. How hot is hot? I think if I remember correctly, it said 86 degrees. Let me see if I can find that. Does it say 86 degrees somewhere on here? Yeah, here, 86 degrees. If it's 86 degrees, the battery starts degrading. And that doesn't mean that the range gets lower. That means the battery itself degrades. It becomes destroyed. Sounds like a problem to me. How can you avoid having that degradation, right? Because here's the thing, this is not range loss. Cold weather causes range loss. Hot temperatures cause degradation. How can you keep that from happening? Well, one thing you can do is you can half charge it in hot weather. That's a real good suggestion, isn't it? Isn't it the whole purpose of an EV is to have longer range? If they're saying you have to half charge it because it's too hot out, that could be a problem. And 86 is not that hot. Most places get to be 86 in the country, most times of the year, a lot of time of the year. So buyers in hotter climates choosing an EV and concerned about parking outside, that could be a problem. That could be the reason that um, Ford is stopping their factory and used EVs are on a massive discount. Could that be a reason? I don't know. There's probably other reasons. I'm sure that you have an opinion about that. Put in the comments below. Let us know what you think. And